Hello guys. While the world is struggling to fight with the ongoing coronavirus pandemic, many countries are under lockdown as a precautionary measure to stem the spread of the virus. Since the outbreak of this life-threatening virus, it has claimed thousands of lives while infecting millions of people worldwide. In this video, we will inform you how the coronavirus is affecting the world economy and what would happen in the near future if this pandemic continues. China's economy was the first to be affected by the spread of the coronavirus, but as this virus reaches to Europe and America, countries around the world are instituting drastic measures to try to contain it. Businesses and offices have been closed and citizens confined to their homes. Many economists believe the world has already entered a recession. The economic fallout from the pandemic seems to be one of the biggest in many decades. According to Oxford Economics, total world trade in goods and services could fall by 10% to 15% in compared to a 10% decline in 2009 during the global financial crisis. And their baseline forecast now sees world GDP contracting by almost 3% this year, the worst outcome since World War II. On 14 April, the International Monetary Fund (IMF) updated its global growth projections from only 3 months ago, indicating that the global economy is expected to experience its worst recession since the Great Depression, surpassing the deep economic slump following the global financial crisis a decade ago. Earlier in April, the United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs (UNDESA) analyzed the effects of the containment measures and projected that the world economy could, in the worst-case scenario, contract by up to 1%. Similarly, the OECD stated in early March that increasingly stringent lockdown measures in most of the world's advanced economies would inevitably result in significant declines in GDP growth. The global GDP was estimated at around $86.6 trillion in 2019. So, you can realize how much destruction this small percentage could cause. Here, you can see the effect on the top 10 economies due to this pandemic. The nominal GDP of the top 10 economies adds up to about 66% of the world's economy, while the top 20 economies contribute almost 79%. The remaining 173 countries together constitute less than 1/4 to the world's economy. This fall may affect the following severely. The impact on employment will be worse than initially expected. The ILO's latest summary states that the current containment measures are affecting close to 2.7 billion workers, representing around 81% of the world's workforce. Developing countries are expected to suffer the most. Capital flight from developing countries at unprecedented rates. The rattling of financial markets, together with tightened liquidity conditions in many countries, have led to unprecedented outflows of capital from developing countries. COVID-19 will set back the achievements of the SDGs. The United Nations Union has expressed concern that the COVID-19 crisis will lead to a reversal of decades of progress in the fight against poverty, and that already high levels of inequality within and between countries will be further exacerbated. The crisis will therefore inevitably and adversely impact the implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Rising malnutrition is expected as 368.5 million children across 143 countries who normally rely on school meals for a reliable source of daily nutrition must now look to other sources, the IMF chief Kristalina Georgieva said. According to IMF chief, while the recovery is expected to pick up in 2021, by end 2021 global output would remain significantly below the pre-crisis trend. Remedy or reform? One key question the ongoing crisis has sparked is whether the unprecedented economic measures could be transformed into long-lasting ones and whether they could pave the way towards more structural reforms. In its report, the UN calls for solidarity and widespread cooperation as a means to building more equitable, inclusive and resilient societies that are better prepared to tackle pandemics, climate change and other challenges. Short versus medium and long-term measures. Short-term targets. The objective is to address the immediate health situation, to protect income-generating opportunities, and to safeguard the operation of critical supply chains, that is necessities and health supplies. Medium to long-term goals. Interventions to cushion the economic fallout emphasize measures to restore supply chains, recover demand, and incentivize productive investment. Policies to support manufacturing. There are challenges for industry in light of the ongoing crisis, including supply chains and the workforce's global mobility. There should be policy measures such as extending lines of credit, reducing infrastructure costs, providing short-term funding, lessening the tax burden and providing supply chain support that could assist manufacturers in responding to and anticipating necessary adjustments. In addition to all of the above-mentioned measures to mitigate the immediate economic downturn associated with the COVID-19 pandemic, governments have also started to extend support to manufacturing companies. Government stimulus packages announced so far are seen as a welcome step to alleviate the immediate economic damage caused by the pandemic, assisting severely hit businesses and promoting job retention.